Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you some of the devices I made for MSoundfactory. So somebody asked me about this about a week ago, and they wanted me to show off some of the things I made just so people can kind of see, what they're used for and things. And I thought instead of just, going through them, I thought maybe it'd be more interesting if I actually showed you what they sound like in the context of a song. So I've been meaning to do this, so I actually did a backing track based upon an Alton Holdsworth song called Fred. You can check that out here. It should be like a link on the screen, one of the little cards. You can click that and you can hear the whole thing. But here, I'll let you hear just a little bit of it now. It sounds like this. Okay, so today I'm going to go over the bass and electric piano parts. So let me just solo this. I'll do the bass part first. So this is the device that I made. Okay, so this is the bass. This is just a basic setup. For those that aren't familiar with devices, they're all over here. And basically what this is, it's kind of like almost like a mini synth or like a preset with lots of macros. And so this one is called E-Bass, and what we have here is lots of controls for the volumes, the pickup positions, etc. Now, for this one, instead of setting all this stuff up myself, all I did was I went into here, which you can find in the instrument presets, and what these do is they allow you to just choose one that maybe was already made, or you can save these yourself. So I made this one, it's called Fat, and I just altered a few things, like I think I turned the drive down a little bit, I turned on the EQ, which wasn't on before, and I think I altered the pluck position and pluck variation. But basically it sounds like this. Or I'll show you a more interesting part here. Okay, so you might be noticing here it has a normal and legato. So there's not such a big difference, but if you hear it like normal, let me play it on my keyboard. Actually, let me turn this on so you can actually hear it. So here we go. But if I put it on legato, it should sound a little bit smoother. Etc. So you don't hear like so much of the clicking. So that's what I did here. And one of the things you'll notice if you look in here, you'll see here's the information about it. And it tells you here, key switching for articulations are on C0 to E16. So what I did was during this part here for the bass, you'll see I'm using some key switches to switch between the normal and the legato. So let me bring that up again so you can kind of see it. Ooh, on the side, it's a bit too big. Make this smaller so you can see both of these at the same time so you can see what's happening, like this. So that's all it's doing. I'm using key switching to move back and forth to get that kind of a legato sound, like a hammer-on you hear on a bass. Now, one of the other things I'm doing here is you see this, wondering what is this? And this is just the pluck position. You can see it here. And this is controlling the pluck variation. Actually, I didn't need to really modulate these, but you get the idea. If you want to and you wanted to change the pluck position, you can, which might have been good. And one other thing I did was I used the vibrato here, which, to be honest, I probably shouldn't have. It doesn't sound really that appropriate here, but I'll let you hear it. You can hear that boo, that vibrato. So it has that in there, and I actually changed this from the normal settings. And you're wondering, how do you change this amount of vibrato? It's controlled by the mod wheel here. So if I move my mod wheel, you can see, oh, it's moving. But you see the vibrato speed isn't all the way at the bottom. So if you want to change that yourself, go into MIDI, and you'll see all the controllers here. So this one's like, oh, okay, performance, vibrato depth, vibrato speed. And so normally I had this, I think, all the way down here, but I just moved this up to here. You could do the same thing with the depth. So instead of starting from 0, I could start from 38% if I wanted like this. And now if you look at the vibrato depth, it only goes down to 38%. So you can set that however you want. So if you're wondering, how do I change this? You can do it that way. And you can also change it here to different controllers. Now I have it main one. So you think, I don't want to use the mod wheel. You can change this to whatever you want. So I think that's a pretty good overview of the electric bass. Let me see, there's some other things. I just put a low pass filter here, but you can change some other things with the EQ. I have a little bit of compression on there, but not too much. But enough of that. Let's check the electric piano. So let's hear a little bit of that. I'll solo it for you. Okay, let me let you hear another part. Actually, I'll do that later. So the basic idea is this. So you can adjust the tone here, the timbre, and there's different models that all sound a little bit different. The one I used here was a preset called Smooth Phaser. So there's quite a few in here, 19 different ones. But I like this one, and it has a phaser effect on here like this. It already has a little bit of reverb on there. Only thing I changed is I decreased the amount of phasing. I think it had it at 100%, but I moved it down to about 70 or so. It has a little bit of compression on there too, but not too much. So it's fairly basic. You can check out the other ones for different sounds. One of the things I really like about this is the dynamics. So I'll let you hear this and notice the dynamics when it goes up here. So you can hear that it's really dynamic. In fact, it was almost too dynamic. One thing you might notice is like sometimes some of these you think, it's a little bit too soft in some places, or like the dynamics are just too large. You can go into the globals, and normally the velocity range is set at -30, which you might think, that's too much, it's too soft. So all you have to do is just decrease it. Here, I think I had it like -18 or so. And so that way, the difference between the loudest notes and the softest notes won't be quite so great. But if you think like, I want more dynamics, of course you can increase that all the way to, actually not off, but maybe -55. And if you think I don't want any dynamics, just move that to 0. So that's a way you can easily adjust that. I did that for the bass and the electric piano just because I thought they're a bit too dynamic. So you can adjust that however you see fit. And I also have some compression on there too on the electric piano itself here in the effects, but I added a little bit more, I think a little bit in like parallel compression. Not there. Yeah, here I used M Turbo Comp just so I could get it a little bit more even. I didn't want it to stick out so much. And the M Auto Dynamic EQ, I planned on doing more, but I thought actually this is kind of okay like this. So I just use a little bit of a high pass filter on there to get rid of some of the low end so it wouldn't interfere with the bass. And when I was mixing it, I went in here and for the keyboard and other stuff, all I did was add all these so I can listen to them and I can hear, how are these interacting together, and I can find the collisions. I'll show you that in a second. Let me finish up. Is there anything else with the electric piano that's particularly interesting? I think that's about it. I just use a little bit of plate reverb on there. So I guess that's it. It has tremolo too and some other things like an amp, but for this, I didn't really use that. Yeah, for those that don't know, this is one of my favorite plugins. So in Multi-Analyzer, what this will allow you to do is it'll allow you to see like different collisions and the spectrum so you can EQ things easily. So I'll let you listen to that or see this. Here we go. So there you go. You can see what that does. This is really useful if you're worried about EQ collisions. For this, I kind of wanted a more like vintage feel, so I didn't want to EQ it to to the heavens. I wanted to keep it kind of subtle here. And if you listen to the original one, it's not like a super loud, compressed thing. So a little bit of EQ collisions are kind of okay for this. And so that's the basic idea. I would go over the drums, but I think that needs a separate video all to itself, so I'll go over that later. But this is the basic idea behind all of these. They all have effects and things, and in the future I'll try to make more songs, and I'll let you listen to more of those and demonstrate some of these sounds. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any other questions, leave those down below, and check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Until next time, see you.